My wife, 32 female, told me that monogamy is a tool of patriarchal ownership and demanded an open marriage. I, 34 male, think she's just trying to justify cheating with her work husband. Throwaway because my wife knows my main account. I've been married to Sarah for 7 years, together for 10. We have a 5-year-old daughter. Up until about 6 months ago, I thought we had a rock-solid partnership. We split finances, I do the cooking and drop-offs, she does the laundry and pickups. We were a team. The shift started when Sarah got promoted at her ad agency and started hanging out with a new group of women from her office. They call themselves the Collective. At first, I was happy she had friends, but then the vocabulary started changing. It started small. If I asked her to pick up milk on her way home, I was adding to her mental load. If I asked who she was texting at 11 p.m., I was policing her social autonomy. She started spending hours on TikTok watching videos about relationship anarchy and deconstructing the nuclear family. 2 nights ago, she sat me down for a serious talk. She told me that she's been doing a lot of shadow work and has realized that our marriage is suffocating her. She gave me this whole speech about how monogamy is an outdated, possessive construct designed by men to control women's bodies. She said she loves me, but she needs to reclaim her sexual agency and wants to open the marriage. I was stunned. I told her absolutely not. I told her I'm a monogamous person and that's the vow we took. Her reaction was immediate anger. She didn't cry, she got cold. She told me my refusal was proof of my fragile masculinity and that I viewed her as property rather than a partner. She said, "I don't need your permission to be a free woman. I'm just trying to include you in my journey out of respect." Here is where the backstabbing comes in. For the last 3 months, she has been glued to her phone texting a guy named Elijah. Elijah is a freelance consultant at her firm. She constantly talks about how woke and emotionally intelligent he is. She claims he's just a mentor who is helping her navigate the corporate world as a woman. When she brought up the open marriage, I asked her point blank, "Is this about Elijah?" She scoffed and rolled her eyes. She said, "Of course you'd make this about another man. That's your insecurity talking. Elijah is an ally who understands radical feminism in a way you obviously can't." She is currently sleeping in the guest room because she says my energy is toxic and I need to educate myself on ethical non-monogamy before we speak again. I feel like I'm being gaslit into oblivion. My gut tells me she's already having an emotional affair with this guy, and she's using this pseudo-academic language to make me the villain for having boundaries. I'm looking at her phone bill logs right now, and the number of texts to this guy is insane. I feel like my life is falling apart, but she's walking around the house like she's some sort of enlightened martyr. Has anyone else dealt with a spouse who suddenly weaponized empowerment to blow up a marriage? I don't know if I should fight for this or just start protecting myself. Update. I'm typing this from a hotel room. I couldn't stay in the house another night. After my last post, Sarah remained cold. She told me she was going to a weekend retreat with the Collective, her friend group, to center herself, and that I should use the time to unpack my toxicity. She left Friday morning. She made a mistake, though. She left her old iPad in the kitchen. She usually keeps her phone locked down like Fort Knox, but the iPad is synced to her iCloud. I know the passcode because it's our daughter's birthday. I didn't want to be the snooping husband, but I felt like I was losing my mind. I opened iMessage and everything I feared was true, and worse. The Collective group chat. This was the most painful part. This group of women has been coaching her for months. When Sarah told her I refused the open marriage, they didn't tell her to respect my feelings. They went on the attack. Friend 1. He's blocking your growth, babe. He knows that once you taste freedom, you'll realize how small he is. Friend 2. Monogamy is just insecurity wrapped in tradition. You don't need his consent to explore your own body. That's patriarchal bullshit. Friend 3. Just go for it with Elijah this weekend. Tell my name later. Better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Actually, don't ask for forgiveness. You don't owe him an apology for living your truth. The texts with Elijah. The conversation with Elijah dates back 4 months. It started professional, then became venting about me, and for the last month it has been explicit sexting. The backstabbing that hurts the most isn't the sexual stuff, it's how she talks about me. She describes me to him as this simple-minded, oppressive hurdle she has to jump over. Sarah. He just looked at me like a confused puppy when I explained polyamory. He's so limited. I need a man who vibrates on my frequency. Elijah. You've outgrown him, Sarah. He's holding on to the old version of you. Let me show you what real passion looks like this weekend. Yes, Elijah is at the retreat. It's not a retreat, it's a rental house her friend booked so they could all party, and Elijah was invited specifically to hook up with Sarah. The open marriage talk wasn't a request, it was her trying to clear her conscience before she slept with him this weekend, so she could say it was ethical. The confrontation. I didn't wait for her to come home. I screenshotted everything, sent it to my phone, and then called her. She didn't answer, so I texted her, I know about Elijah. I know he's at the rental. I read the iPad. She called me back immediately. I expected tears, panic, maybe an apology. Nope, she was furious. She started screaming that I violated her digital boundaries and that my snooping was financial and emotional abuse. She literally said, "You violating my privacy is a bigger betrayal than me seeking a connection with someone who actually understands me. You just proved why I need Elijah. He respects my autonomy. You treat me like a prisoner." She refused to come home. She said she was going to stay at the rental because she didn't feel safe around my aggressive energy. I hung up, packed a bag, and emptied our joint savings account into my personal account. Leaving enough for bills, I'm not a monster, but I'm not funding her affair weekend. I've already contacted a lawyer. The most twisted part? She posted a quote on Instagram an hour ago about shedding dead weight and rising from the ashes. She thinks she's the hero of this story. Final update. It's been 8 months since I found the texts, emptied the account, and left the house. The divorce decree was officially signed by the judge yesterday. I am a free man. I wanted to write this to close the loop for anyone else dealing with a partner who suddenly adopts a whole new personality based on TikTok algorithms and toxic echo chambers. The divorce process. The legal battle was a nightmare. Sarah fired 2 lawyers. Why? Because they told her that emotional reparations for years of unpaid domestic labor is not a real legal concept in our state, and she wouldn't be getting 80% of my assets. The collective, her friend group, kept gassing her up, telling her to fight for everything, to make me pay for the trauma of the patriarchy. She dragged our feet in mediation for months, burning through her own savings, convinced she was going to get a massive payout. In the end, we got the standard split, 50-50 custody, split assets, no alimony. The crash and burn. Here is the part that is sad, satisfying, and pathetic all at once. Remember Elijah, the enlightened work husband who vibrated on her frequency? He dumped her 3 weeks after she moved out of our house. Once Sarah was actually single, living in a shitty apartment, and needing emotional support during a divorce, Elijah lost interest. He wasn't looking for a partner, he was looking for a low-stakes office hookup. When she tried to lean on him, he told her she was too heavy and that he didn't sign up for this kind of drama. And the collective, the women who told her to blow up her marriage, as soon as Sarah started crying at brunch about Elijah and her finances, they dropped her. They told her she was trauma dumping and bringing down the group's manifestation energy. They literally ostracized her for being sad about the life they encouraged her to destroy. The attempted return. Last week, during a custody exchange, Sarah didn't leave immediately. She looked terrible. Lost weight, looked tired, none of that girl boss arrogance from 6 months ago. She broke down in my driveway. She told me she had made a mistake. She said she felt like she had been brainwashed by the content she was consuming and the women she was hanging out with. She said she let internet buzzwords convince her that being a wife and mother was slavery, and that she didn't realize how good and safe her life was until she was alone in an empty apartment. She actually said, "I think I was having a mental health crisis, and those women took advantage of me. Can we please just try counseling? I'll cut them all off. I just want my family back." My response? I looked at her and I felt nothing. No anger, no love, just exhaustion. I told her, "You weren't brainwashed, Sarah. You were bored. You wanted to cheat, and you found a philosophy that gave you permission to do it without feeling like the bad guy. You didn't leave because of the patriarchy. You left because you wanted to fuck Elijah. The fact that it didn't work out doesn't mean you get to come back." I got in my car and drove away. My daughter is doing okay. We have a routine, my house is quiet. I don't have to walk on eggshells wondering if asking about dinner is an act of oppression. If your spouse starts rewriting your history and using therapy speak to justify treating you like garbage, don't wait for the update. Just get out.